Hey there, all you fellow flea market friends. Welcome to Broadway by Ghostlight. I'm Mark Manani, and today I wanted to explore the history of and celebrate one of my absolute favorite days of the year, the Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS Flea Market.
It's the best day of the year. The best day of the year!
Now in its 35th year, this annual event is a beloved tradition and for collectors like me, the opportunity of a lifetime. But being a so-called historian of the theatrical nature,
No one thinks that.
I was always curious as to the origins of one of my personal high holy days. Luckily, I happen to be friends with the man who started it all.
Well, how convenient.
And I also spoke with the executive director of Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS, who was there from the beginning, Tom Viola, and I cannot wait to reveal what I learned.
Tell me everything.
Plus, at the end of the video, I'll share with you some of the craziest and most cherished things I've acquired throughout my years of flea market hunting. So let's all head to Schubert Alley, grab a large stack of old playbills to sift through, and find out how this one day a year has helped millions of people over the decades.
It's really quite astounding.
Every year around the end of September, beginning of October, the entire Broadway and off-Broadway community comes together to clean out their closets for a good cause. If you've never had the chaotic pleasure of attending the Broadway Flea Market before, let me give you a quick overview. On an early fall Sunday morning, the Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS Flea Market takes over the heart of the theater district, 44th and 45th Streets between 7th and 8th Avenues, connected by Schubert Alley, kind of in a big H. And though this year tables will be limited for obvious reasons,
A virus.
there are typically around 50 to 60 tables lining these streets. The tables are a mixture of running or recently closed Broadway and off-Broadway shows, as well as New York and regional theater companies, merchandise companies, nonprofit organizations, and then some unique but beloved tables like the Michael Crawford International Fan Association, Triton Gallery, one of my favorite places on the planet, Rachel's Bears, which has amazing bears dressed up in various current and classic Broadway character costumes, and Tyne Daly.
No kidding.
Yes, Tyne Daly has her own table every year and sells her stuff and is there and is lovely, and honestly, it's one of the best things about the Flea. Other staples of the Flea are fan favorite Squigs and his incredible Lights of Broadway show cards. They release a new flea market exclusive pack every year, but make sure and get there early if you want one, as lines for that table are always massive. The community, known as Light Catchers, every year also donate hundreds of cards to be sold at the Flea. If you don't know what the Lights of Broadway show cards are, I do have a great video talking all about that, so you can check that out next.
Should we watch it?
Another popular stop is the TDF Pick a Ticket table. There you pay for a raffle ticket. If your ticket is a winner, you get a random envelope with either a pair of tickets or a voucher for tickets. Tickets range from 54 Below shows, off-Broadway workhorses like Perfect Crime or Stomp, and big name hits, though those are a tad rarer, of course. But half the fun of the Pick a Ticket table is swapping and trading with your fellow theater nerds. Along with the tables typically in Schubert Alley, there is an incredible silent auction held throughout the day with Broadway favorites hosting. This year it's Jen Cody, who is no stranger to the flea market silent auction, who's done it since at least 2006, and also the wonderful Todd Buonapane, our hosts. And then the grand live auction ends the event with amazing items and opportunities going to the highest bidder. At the live auction, you can bid on opening night tickets to just about every show opening that season, once-in-a-lifetime experiences like actual walk-on roles in various shows, or getting to conduct the orchestra at Phantom of the Opera. There's also incredible memorabilia, which this year includes limited edition autographed Hirschfeld prints, a silver meat pie given by Angela Lansbury to Victor Garber on opening night of Sweeney Todd, which I have never seen before. I want this so bad.
I must own it.
And famed lighting designer Jules Fisher's actual Tony Awards from Danson and Pippin.
Holy crap. crap.
Scattered among the many tables at the flea market, you could find rare playbills, merchandise never made available to the public, books and CDs galore, and my bread and butter, actual props and costumes used in Broadway shows.
That is so cool.
I've gotten some amazing things which I'll share with you in a second, but as I mentioned in the beginning, I've always been interested in learning about the beginning of this Broadway Christmas. All I could ever find was that in 1987, cast members of a chorus line set up tables outside their stage door to raise money for their friends with HIV and AIDS. And I figured that's as good as it would ever get.
What if this is as good as it gets?
However, in my touring days of doing merchandise, I did the national tour of Little House on the Prairie, the musical, which, dear viewers, is a video for another day.
It was interesting.
But the production stage manager on that tour was a wonderful man named Michael Dannick. And at the final going away party at the end of the tour, he casually dropped the knowledge on me that he was the cast member at a chorus line who started the flea market.
Well, that's fine, but I don't see how that affects... What?
I'd always meant to get that full story from him, so I called him up and got the lowdown.
Okay, lay it on me.
The organization Equity Fights AIDS had just formed in December of 1986 as a committee within Actors Equity. It would be another 2 years before another nonprofit with similar intentions, Broadway Cares, was formed, and they wouldn't combine into the Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS we know today until 1992. But the newly active Equity Fights AIDS in 1986 was still in its infancy and looking to raise all the money it could in the horrific AIDS crisis ravaging Broadway and the world at the time. They encouraged each show to do some kind of money-making event for a fundraising week.
We need money.
Cats apparently had a bake sale in the lobby of the Winter Garden. I'm dying to know what kind of food they sold.
Does your cat by any chance eat Jell-O?
The off-Broadway company of the play Steel Magnolias was the first to come up with the idea of the audience appeal after a show, asking for donations and explaining what the organization was.
It's their fault. That's right, it's their fault.
But Michael Dannick, who was in a chorus line on Broadway from 1980 to 1989, was tasked with coming up with that show's idea, and of course, it was a flea market.
Genius, genius!
He dropped off flyers at all the running shows, letting them know what they planned on doing and asking for donations. He also went to the Schubert offices right above the Schubert Theater, where a chorus line played for all of its 6,137 performances, and asked for and got permission to use Schubert Alley before an upcoming Saturday matinee.
Oh yeah, it's all coming together.
Michael, who lived in the Village at the time, went around to different local antique stores gathering donations for the cause, and some old props and costumes were donated not only from a chorus line, but from Cats and Phantom as well. Only a couple tables were put out, and it lasted only a few hours, very informal. The antiques did well, but apparently hardly any of the show stuff sold, which I find hilarious. Oh, how times have changed.
The 80s, am I right?
Then everything was broken down and they did their matinee. But in just that short time, they raised about $5,000 according to Michael.
Wow, not too shabby.
The next year in 1987, Equity Fights AIDS reached out to Michael to do it again, but expanded and with the help and support of the organization behind it. Other shows got more involved, as well as local theater haunts. Starlight Deli, a staple of anyone who's worked in a theater in Times Square, had a table selling coffee and donuts. And so on November 28th, 1987, a chorus line and Equity Fights AIDS hosted the first official Broadway Antique and Flea Market benefit. This is the actual flyer for the first flea market that went around. That first official year raised $12,000. Definitely an uptick from the first informal flea market.
Yes, I should say so.
Michael Dannick left a chorus line in 1989 and handed off the reins fully to Tom Viola and his team at Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS, though he would still volunteer there many times throughout the years.
Oh, that's nice.
And it has, of course, grown to the international event it is today. In 1989, the live auction was introduced, bringing that year's total all the way up to $52,000.
Now we're cooking with gas.
By 1992, when Broadway Cares and Equity Fights AIDS combined forces for good, the flea market made an astounding $182,000.
It's a lot of money, Hetty.
As of last year's all-virtual flea market, the annual event has raised a total of almost $16 million, all helping vital organizations. Now, I promise to share some of the amazing and wacky things I've acquired from my years of flea market expeditions. I'm going to be sharing a lot of my collection in upcoming prop table videos. I have the first one posted if you want to check that out after this. But here's a sort of flea market exclusive sneak peek.
Aren't we lucky?
Alright, so here's a cool item. This is from Billy Elliot the Musical. This is Billy's actual acceptance letter into the Royal Ballet School. Pretty cool. Oh, you can see all my lighting in there. Oh well. So here, isn't that pretty cool? I think it is.
What else you got?
Another fun flea market find was from the most recent revival of Carousel with Jesse Mueller and Josh Henry. There were these lamps that looked like stars as part of the scenic design, and I was able to snag one of those lights. Look at that. And it does plug in. They made it so that we can just plug it in. I have to find a cool place to hang it, but isn't that awesome?
So awesome.
And lastly, but certainly not least, a very rare and weird find, and one where my sort of random, obscure Broadway history brain came in handy. I spotted these two brooms, and no one else knew what they were, but I sure did. Jude Jamson, who owns and operates many Broadway theaters, had these brooms commissioned for the years in which productions they were involved in swept the Tony Awards. So this broom here is from the Tony Awards from 1990, and they won Best Revival for Gypsy, Best Musical, City of Angels, and Best Play, The Grapes of Wrath. So that's this year where they swept the Tonys. And then the other broom I have is from the Producers year, where they have now the record for the most Tony Awards, so definitely swept that year. So 2001. How sweep it is, it says, from all your friends at Jude Jamson. So these, and it's engraved here with all the names of all the winners from the Producers. And it was those brooms that landed me in the Flea Market Hall of Fame. Oh yes, and I have proof. Yeah, it's a sash. It's a Flea Market Hall of Fame sash. I'm legit. And that, my friends, is a brief history of the Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS Flea Market. Have you attended a Broadway Flea before? What items have you snagged? I'd love to hear about them. And if you've yet to go to a Broadway Flea Market, what would you hope to find there? Let me know down in the comments. I would love to hear from you guys, and I promise to respond to everyone. Thank you so much to Michael Dannick and Tom Viola for taking the time to speak to me. I hope you enjoyed this video and learned a little something. If you did, sharing this video with friends and family goes such a long way to helping this channel grow. And of course, hitting that like button helps appease the YouTube algorithm gods, and I would be forever grateful if you would give this video a like.
I'm hopeless and awkward and desperate for love.
But until next time, thank you all for watching. This is Broadway by Ghostlight. I'm Mark Bonanni, the Flea Market Hall of Famer. I'll see y'all next time.